earlier. A, why is this, it seemed historically, the dominant vampiric social Darwinist, what's the word, psychic vampire group all over the world, and why can't we ever unseat them? And how do we awaken humanity? But as it seems humanity is starting to awaken, how do you expect them to strike back? So 3 questions there.
I'll tell you what, Alex, one of the things, you'll be aware of this because you've interviewed and chatted with David Icke probably more than anybody. David has always said that he believes that what might be involved here is energies that are known as archons or are known as the jinn, all these ancient beliefs. Demons. Now, I used to laugh at this one time. I used to think, well, this is kind of extraordinary. It's a little bit beyond the pale for me. I'm not going to buy into it. And that was without disrespecting David. I just found it was a little bit difficult to take. But not anymore, Alex. You know, the more I think about it, the more satanic in nature we find these things to be. I didn't mention that Harvey Procter is a former Conservative MP. He's been arrested in relation to alleged paedophile activities at Dolphin Square in London. And for your viewers who don't know, Dolphin Square was like a big, not a frat house, but a big apartment block where a lot of politicians would have stayed and lived in while they were working in London. So they've arrested a former Conservative MP. Because we're learning about the satanic nature of this stuff, David has got to have a point, and it's well worth exploring that what they're after is the prepubescent energy of young children. And you know what, Alex? I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that that's as logical a conclusion as anybody has drawn on that for me. Because
well, sure, every ancient culture, just to back you up, sacrificed children for their energy and believed they were doing it for entities.
Yes, and you mentioned earlier on that this is thousands. We're not talking about a few hundred children over a 30 or 40 or 50-year period. We're talking about maybe tens of thousands.
So we're talking about satanic forces on the earth harvesting the life force and the terror energy of children.
Now, do you know what, Alex? When I say that and when you say that, some of our viewers will be very disturbed and they will say that we're trying to give the paedophiles a pass because what we're trying to say is, God love those pedophiles. It's not their fault, really. It's the demons. We're not saying that at all. You know, we're not saying that at all. I mean, you can invite these things.
But why do so many of the pedophiles believe they're doing it for demons? That just keeps happening and happening and happening. So regardless, it's an archetype of a demon that's manifesting if you go with the Carl Jung psychology.
Yeah, and there's probably so many different levels to it, Alex. You know, there are people who are induced into it maybe and are compromised. I mean, there's so many different levels. I mean, there's having sex, I hate to even say this. I mean, you're a dad. I'm not a dad yet. It must be terrible for you to talk about this sort of stuff. But having sex with a 7 or an 8-year-old boy or girl. But then there's having sex with a 13 or 14-year-old girl, which is no less wrong. It's completely and utterly wrong. But quite often, you know, famous people, politicians were induced into doing that so that they could be later compromised. You know, when they were needed to do something. Or
exactly. You don't get in the club, even if you're not demon-possessed or whatever it is. You don't get it unless you go out with a 16-year-old girl, so they then know you're compromised. In fact, that's almost a gang ritual. It's come out to get into these globalist groups is, hey, just 16-year-old girl, we'll know you're safe once we've compromised you. And these politicians will even pose and take photos knowing they're being inducted like a gang ritual where they tell a gang member, go shoot an old lady or go shoot a cop or go rob a liquor store and shoot the clerk. That's what the, you know, different racial gangs do. With this gang, it's rape children. But then when you get deeper into it, you're literally cutting the hearts out of babies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned briefly earlier on Lawrence E. King, you know, Republican power broker, big friend of, you know, famous Republicans back in the 80s and what he was getting up to. And of course, one of the things he was doing was deliberately compromising people who might become enemies, you know, people who might block certain things or might make things difficult. And they were at that, taking the kids out of, I think it was it Boys Town Orphanage, Alex? Was that the orphanage?
Absolutely. And I remember having Senator DeCamp on, who was a commando in Vietnam and CIA that exposed all this. He started talking about Boys Town, and then he started talking about Penn State like 10 years ago. And I actually delayed him and said, you know, cut him off the air and said, you can't talk about stuff that hasn't come out in the news. And DeCamp got mad at me. I apologized to him later. But I got to say, I mean, he knew what he was saying. I mean, that is verified right there. Just like David Icke said, this prime minister raped kids, and now that's coming out, or Jimmy Savile, the BBC, and these people, you know, had secret rooms and satanic rituals, and then everything Ike said came out. And so, you know, when Ike learns all this in a vision without drugs in Peru, I mean, it just gets weirder and weirder.
You know, there's a video we haven't mentioned, and it's doing the rounds of the internet. I've interviewed somebody connected with it, but I made sure they didn't mention any names. And it's a video that everybody's seeing of two young children in Hampstead in London appearing to describe ritualistic child abuse and murder. And as of yet, Alex, I don't know whether the video is a hoax, whether it's real. I've spoken with a woman called Sabina McNeil who believes that it's absolutely real. The children are in care now. They've been taken from their mother by the authorities in this country. And I just don't know, Alex. But what I do know is that that's gone on. You know, ritualistic child murder has gone on here on a huge
Absolutely.
scale.
And then they use things like the Salem witch trials to discredit it and claim that it's always made up hysteria. No, it's not. It's being proven, and it's going on at the highest levels. We'll be back with your phone calls and Richie Allen. I'm Alex Jones. Stay with us, Infowars.com.
This hour brought to you by InfidelBodyArmor.com. When it hits the fan, don't be left without the body armor that will save your life. With prices starting at just $374.99 and ships free. Get yours at InfidelBodyArmor.com. Just won't quit.
Hi, Ted Anderson with Midas Resources. Is it time to convert paper 401ks and IRAs to solid gold and silver yet? Get our 10 Reasons book free. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Last year, in the Nevada desert, one family took a stand for freedom. Numanna Food Storage was the first and only company to support the rights of the Bundys. While others stood down, Numanna took donations and provided storable foods to the men at Bunkerville. Founded by patriots who believe in liberty, Numanna Food Storage is GMO-free, great-tasting, and easy to prepare. Food is freedom. Buy Numanna today at PowerPrepper.com. Numanna Food Storage you'll love to eat at PowerPrepper.com.
Alex Jones here. For the last 2 years, I've been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to design a nutraceutical formulation that has truly life-changing health benefits. So many other formulations out there contain toxic ingredients, synthetic additives, and even GMOs. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
It's time to kick some ash because cigarettes have met their match. Smokers are switching to Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig because when you kick ash, you kick tar and smelly smoke too. LeSig smokes the competition with real people customer service, a 7-day satisfaction guarantee, and same-day fast free shipping. Become a vapor today at LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes. Kick some ash.
When the day comes where the world changes forever, you can be ready at a moment's notice. With Survivalist Camps, the ultimate fully functional off-the-grid survival bug-out house that's completely mobile and ready to go. All the comforts of an RV, but custom built to outlast any other trailer. Learn more at survivalistcamps.com. Due to overwhelming response, limited inventory is available. Be ready with survivalistcamps.com. Survivalist Camps, providing your basic needs to survive.
We've got it. This transmission is coming to you. All right, you are go. All right, you are go. Now we see the Earth. We've got it. Now we see the Earth now.
It's hard to talk about these subjects, but if we're going to protect the little guys, the children, as Christ commanded us to do, stop for the little ones to come into you. Be better to tie a millstone around your neck and throw it to the deepest ocean than to hurt one of these. Well, if we don't stand up for them, we are aiding and abetting the sickos. Our guest is Richie Allen. We're going to your phone calls right now. Let's go ahead and go to Stefan in New York. Thanks for holding. You're on the air worldwide.
Hey, how you doing? And how are you doing, Richie?
I'm very well, Stefan. Thank you.
Good. The whole thing with these pedophiles, I mean, I don't want to get onto this too much because, I mean, these are just a bunch of sickos. I believe once you get to a certain point with your money, you really feel that you can do anything and you can get into whatever temptation you want to get into, especially if...
So you're saying they're so rich and so powerful, they get into what's forbidden regardless.
Yeah, they get into what's forbidden regardless. And then when you see these people with their arms around them, taking pictures with them, they're just playing the game. They understand, listen, these are what these sickos are into, but this guy's got X amount of money and he's going to help me with, corrupting Iran to, do whatever. Point is I believe that these are just sick people that have been in power for too long. It's usually always the traditional money families, like, for instance, like the Rothschilds. They're very into all these demonic things. And I believe these people, they might have got scriptures that are, God knows how old, that might have told them, the blood of children do this. And so they get high off that. And then that's like their next hobby. You know what I mean? These people's hobbies, they're so warped with their money that their hobbies just become something, like as extreme as this, as saying, you know what, let's try this whole, blood sacrificing thing with children. And it seems we can absorb energy from it. So then they just go along with it.
Sure.
And unfortunately.
Sure, but you wanted to get into Rothschilds and Hillary Clinton because you volunteered that. I see it on screen. I want to get into the Rothschilds, too. I'll get into it more in the next hour. But what was your point about Lord Rothschild, the head guy, saying the most dangerous time, geopolitical situation since World War II?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel right there, he's giving us a heads up, but even the people that are in his closest circle, they already know what's going on. This is kind of like a message to people that he can't really reach, directly. So he'll give these little things that, like, oh, listen, there's going to be financial class, as like a heads up to his other business buddies that might.
Sure, and we're getting more and more of those heads up. It's like the head of the Federal Reserve, 10 years ago, Greenspan, saying irrational exuberance will bring us down when they set up the whole system to collapse down the road. I think that's a really great point. What's your point on Hillary Clinton?
And my point on Hillary Clinton is obviously she's in, collaboration with all these heads, as obvious as it looks. I mean, she has a secret email address. I mean, come on, that's a dead giveaway that she's obviously doing some sort of, discreet...
Sure, it violates federal law, too, and this woman's a monster. She's to be indicted. We're going to break. We're going to come back with more calls. Richie Allen, your comment on what he just brought up with the Rothschilds.
Oh, well, look, I mean, this guy stands to, fund both sides of every war in recent history. He knows the score, of course. Much of what happens and what will happen in the coming months, he'll have his grubby paw prints and his fingerprints all over it, Alex. There's very little I can add to anything that's been said about Rothschild and the Rothschild dynasty and their central banks, other than it's pure evil in its purest form, I think.
You're Irish, but it's happened to everybody. But, boy, I tell you, the takeover of Ireland has been really sad, but I see a lot of people getting upset about the globalists looting your country. Let's briefly talk about Greece and how that ties into Ukraine, Ireland, Spain, and more. What it's like to be conquered by bankers. You finally kick the British out, and now you've got the bankers in.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with Super Male or Super Female Vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 188-253-3139.